Not Mark Hyman fear-mongering Ozempic and GLP-1 medicines again. Ozempic promised easy weight loss but has left thousands with permanent stomach damage. Instead of looking at the totality of data like a scientist should, he cherry picks and finds these commonly fear-mongered things like stomach paralysis, sudden vision loss, and intestinal blockages. Luckily, we have trial data where they compare the drugs to a placebo to see what's in effect and what's not in effect. And what did the trials show when you put it all together? Doesn't seem to be a risk of all the intestinal blockages and stomach paralysis, gastroparesis, but we do see gallstones, and that is typical with fast weight loss, and we also see reflux as well. Again, instead of showing data and randomized trial data, he pulls out the anecdotes from the lawsuits. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible this can happen. If it does happen, it's extremely rare. We would see some sort of signal in the trials and meta-analyses, but we don't. So that means if it does happen, it has to be extremely rare. What we don't know is anything about these cases. What were their underlying risk factors? There can be some other risk factors that can increase your risk of gastroparesis, things like type 2 diabetes and that sort of thing, already increase your risk for gastroparesis permanently. I've never seen a case of this. I mean, it doesn't mean it can't happen, but we're not using good data here. He talks about the blindness thing. I've talked about this many times. There's an article last year in JAMA Ophthalmology which showed a very, very potential small risk, extremely rare risk, in those taking semaglutide with history of type 2 diabetes compared to those with type 2 diabetes not taking semaglutide. However, the newest analysis done in the Journal of Ophthalmology showed no such association. And in classic Mark Hyman fashion, he tops it all off with telling people to boost their own GLP-1. And I've talked about this time and time again. Our own natural GLP-1 is broken down within a minute or two. These receptor agonists stick around for much longer, which means they can actually hit the receptors in our brain, which our own natural GLP-1 doesn't do, which means it's not going to have an effect for weight loss or glycemic purposes or any of the other inflammatory, anti-inflammatory effects. So again, fear-mongering to promote his own agenda, and he's just wrong about all the pathophysiology, not using science, using anecdotes. Not good.